My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
And right now you're saying, whoa, a Judd's Hockey Show? These guys must record on Saturday morning. They must be crazy. Well, crazy about watching good hockey, if that's the case. The Wild wins 5-3 last night against the Tampa Bay Lightning in their return after, approximately 3 weeks away from the X. They are now 7-1-2, 16 points in the Central Division, only trailing the Winnipeg Jets, who have lost once in regulation in 11 games, and that's it. They are 10-1. They have 20 points. The Wild is tied with Dallas. Why do I say this? Because, one, I think a lot of us didn't expect this to be the case. No. But, boy, do I have some notes from last night, Age. So, shall we start?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right, let's do it. All right, a common theme in the post-game, and it's exactly right, is the last two games, and last night in particular is one where the Wild almost certainly loses a year ago. Well, and I should amend that to say a lot of Wild teams lose those games. You're down 2-0 in Pittsburgh, end of a 7-game trip. You almost couldn't blame any team if they said screw it, but they were coming off, in that case, the Wild was coming off a sort of ugly loss to the Flyers, came back. Pittsburgh's not good. They beat Pittsburgh. I think I'm more impressed by last night. First period was not good. They were lethargic. They looked like a team that had been on a long road trip, got home, all got to sleep in their own bed and exhaled and said, we're finally home, and then didn't play well, which happens a lot in this league. Outshot 15-6. Philip Gustafson, who we can talk about, brilliant in the first period, basically saved their bacon. And then after that, the Wild came back. And I think what impressed me most was Jake Gensel at 6:23 of the third period on the power play again. Wild gave up 2 more power play goals last night. Jake Gensel ties the score, and it's like, oh boy, here we go. Yeah. Tampa's a veteran team. They're a good team. They're a smart team. They've got Kucherov. Wild comes back. Kaprizov goal to take the lead on a gorgeous sort of tip-in from the shaft of his stick, basically. Matt Boldy, empty net. And then the Lightning pull within one again at the 17:34 mark. So there's a lot of time left, right? So again, Old school Wild. Oh boy, here we go. Kirill Kaprizov ends it at 19:31 with an empty net goal. I will use the word that I've been using since the Florida trip. This was a very professional performance. They didn't play extremely well. The first period was disappointing in postgame. John Hines, Age, talked about the fact, and I love this because this is the old Wild's one of the biggest flaws. Can't get too high, can't get too low. You're never as bad as you think you are. You're never as good as you think you are. This team brings that mentality, and dare I say, I haven't seen that since Jacques Lemaire, perhaps.
Wow. You mentioned that last year, this Wild team probably loses that game last night. And I think the biggest difference that we've seen through, 10 games or so for the season, this team, when they're given lemons, they're making lemonade. Like they face a little adversity, they're making the best of it, and they're fighting back, and they're making things competitive. Last year, that Wild team is cutting the lemons in half and squirting the lemon juice right into their eyes. Just self-harm. Like they wouldn't be able to fight themselves out of a paper bag. They are really, they look like a professional hockey team. This is just really impressive. My one gripe that I maybe have here from last night, and you mentioned it already, a very slow, lethargic first period. And that seems to be the case. And a trend I'm noticing up against good teams, this team out of the gate, low quantity of shots in the first period. Like they don't really start getting going offensively. And they might find the back of the net, and that's quality, but they don't really get the opposing goaltender in on the action a whole lot in the first period when it's a team that is probably middle of the road to top of the league. So it's nice that they're able to battle back and really ramp up that offense as the game progresses. I would like to see it though from the get-go. But yeah, Braden Point leads the scoring last night. Always haunts me that one little pick swap that Chuck Fletcher did. And granted, if they probably don't make that if they wanted to draft a forward, because I think they drafted Louis Belpedio with the next pick, but it's just like every time he scores against the Wild, it's hard to not think about that. once again, I think we talked about this on Thursday when we did a show, but the top two lines continue to keep going. That top line of Kaprizov, Zuccarello, and Rossi, they are driving offense every single shift that they're on the ice. They have the speed, they have the skill, they have the chemistry. Right now, they have the health, which is the most thing. And I think the biggest thing is they have the NHL's leading point getter at the moment on that top line as well. Yeah. Kirill Kaprizov continues his a Hart Trophy start, as you coined it the other day, and that second line looks to keep rolling as well. Matt Boldy with another fantastic night. Marcus Johansson, I'm seeing him block shots now, Judd. Like he
actually got hurt.
He got hurt.
Yeah, he didn't play. He left at the end of the second period. He came back in the third. But he left in the second period because of that. He had blocked a shot, and eventually, they're not certain of his status for Sunday's game against Toronto. But yeah, he did block a shot. And look, he's come to play this year, and I'm fine with him when he does. I'm fine with him when he comes to play. But I mean, to your point again, last night. Now the third line did have a change up because in the second period, I think it was late in the second period, Ryan Hartman, who came back and was indeed a Zolgadian endorsed fourth line winger to start the game. Hartman came back, and late second period, they put him on the third line and they put Trennan on the fourth line. I have no objection to. And then at the start of the third period, actually Trennan and that fourth line had just stepped on the ice when Brock Faber scored his goal. But I'll give you this stat last night. Marcus Foligno credited with 9 hits.
Wow.
And I mean, since I don't know if we criticized him, since we said, hey, he's got to show up on the stat sheet, not in goals and assists necessarily, but in hits at least, 9 hits. Trennan was actually credited with 4 last night. Now, I still don't really, I don't notice him. Foligno, I have, like you can see him. He is being very wisely aggressive. But let's get back to your, what you broached, which is Kirill Kaprizov, because I mean, this start is nuts. He now leads, as we record this, obviously a full slate of games later today on Saturday, but he now leads the league in points in 10 games. He's got 21 points. Is it now 20? Yes. So he becomes the 5th active player with 20 points in 10 games, 6 goals and 14 assists at that point. This is it's Kirill off to a very hot start, which we've never really seen. He's occasionally gotten off to decent starts. For him, he's gotten off to some bad starts. Like if you were to project those stats to a second line wing, you'd be like, oh, this is great, but it's Kirill Kaprizov, so you don't. But more importantly, he's gone through cycles like this before, but more importantly to me is the timing of this. Like the fact that it is to start the season. And that was Eriksson Ek was asked about that last night. And this unbelievable stretch, and Kirill's been phenomenal. And Ek said, well, he's gone through stretches like this before, but I think it's the fact it's to start the season. I think it's the fact that, and I mean, you could criticize this, I guess. He had 2 shots last night. The first one was the puck that he tipped in from Rossi. The second one was the empty net goal. But the pass to Eriksson Ek looked like Gretzky in his prime. I mean, that was a gorgeous pass. Now, he did throw some passes that were blind and didn't connect. But I just think the start to me for Kirill is what makes this streak so special, because it's sort of announcing his arrival at the beginning of a season. Don't think we've ever really seen him do that before, other than like his first game against the Kings. He scored a gorgeous overtime goal. But like this sample size of work to start a season, to me, says something that's different about his approach. And he's always been good. So that's not a rip. He's always been good. But this is just age off the charts. Yeah, and I think it probably could be credited a bit in part to the fact that we know he's healthy. Last year, we know he was still kind of recovering in all off season. You had that whole, it was reported that he wasn't able to do like normal hockey workouts over the off season. It was more rehabbing whatever that injury was. We know it was lower body or like lower back, but it wasn't, it was a weird thing that kind of hampered his performance. Now he's healthy to start the season, and the stretch that he's talking about that Joel Eriksson Ek mentioned, we're seeing this now right from the get-go. And that when we've seen him elevate this team to a different level, he's doing it now
from the get-go, and that's making everybody else better. It's raising the morale in the locker room night in and night out. They know they have a chance to win games because Kirill Kaprizov is healthy, playing at the top of his game, like I'm going to say a top 5 player in the world right now. Like, he is on a different level, Judd, and he's making everybody else better around him. That pass that you mentioned last night, I mean, I didn't think there was a chance that he gives that shooting opportunity, but it was such a pretty pass, and it required a really good shot by Eriksson to score the goal. But him ending with 3 points on the night, right? 3 points on the night, but only 2 shots. Like, that just shows he's just playing such unselfish, high-level hockey. He's out of this world right now. He's generating offense every single time he steps on the ice. I'm curious to see how long it can go, because you expect, similar to other sports, baseball, batters have a rough stretch at the plate. Basketball, somebody, they have a game where they just can't, get anything in the basket. At a certain point, you're going to have maybe a week where it's like, okay, Kirill's having trouble generating anything. He's not finding the back, and then he might miss. Right now, this guy is scorching hot. I don't expect a drop off, but there will be a game or two here and there where teams are going to absolutely make his life hell. It's how he adjusts and how John Hines draws up, relying maybe like a Matt Boldy or something else to step up and make those teams pay for essentially doubling up their attention on Kirill.
Yeah, and it does feel like they have the depth now a little bit more so, or not just the depth. They've had some depth before. It feels like they have the quality, or guys playing well, or guys are playing. See, here's what's interesting too about Kirill's box score last night. He led all skaters, 3 giveaways. So he made some blind passes that weren't smart. Mm-hmm. But the thing that intrigues me about Kirill is, now the playoffs are a little bit different because you get focused on singly. Like you are literally, because it's a 7-game series, you're the focus of an opponent. Yeah. And so it becomes more like basketball then, where they double you and things like that, or football. But the thing with Kirill is, when he is applying himself like this, and he plays such a hard game, such an intense game, such a mucker of, a star/superstar/ mucker, mm-hmm. that he's going to have games where he doesn't score. But I don't know that this version of him should ever go away based on how he works, like that's the thing. And age, the incredible thing is, and this guy is worth an entire show, but last night, and John Hines is doing this. He's double shifting him at times. Like when Lauko got in the fight last night, Kirill takes the 4th line. At one point in time, I think the 3rd line, I saw him out there with them. He played last night 23 minutes and 1 second. Just to context that for you. Jake Middleton played 23-21. He's a defenseman. Mm-hmm. Brock Faber, who's basically the Iron Horse of hockey, played 25. But other than that, like when you look at and this is great, but when you look at the minutes of the other forwards, let's just take Rossi, for example, who is his line mate on the first line. Marco Rossi last night played 16:34. Matt Zuccarello, exact same. So like Kirill Kaprizov played 7 minutes more essentially. Yeah. Like this is the nuts thing. You can't play him enough right now. And you could be like, well, I wonder if he's going to wear down. I'm not sure the answer is yes.
No, and we saw that, God, what was it, a week or two ago, where they knew they had like a 4-day break, and and I think they had Hartman out. I think Eriksson was out too, and it was like, how many minutes is he going to get? I think he got like nearly 26 that night.
Yeah, he did.
John Hines knows I have a Ferrari in the garage, right? And I'm not going to limit the miles that I'm driving it. I'm going to get it out on the highway. I'm going to put the pedal to the metal, and it's probably going to return offense for me. And that's exactly what he's doing. I think he's going to be smart about it. If they have a back-to-back, he's probably going to back that down. He's not going to get to 23 minutes, but he's going to probably get closer to 20. He's going to be out there in crucial moments. But for right now, you have some time to rest in between games. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and get him out there on the ice as much as possible. And obviously now it's a little shorter turnaround than I just mentioned previously, but 23:01, that's a determining factor into why you won last night's game. The more he's out on the ice, he's only impacting. And until something happens behind the scenes, like hey, coach, I need to, let's scale back a couple shifts here. I don't think Kirill is a guy that would say that. But if you notice a declining play, maybe we'll scale it back and get some legs under him. But right now, this is a guy that is a workhorse. He's the heart of your team. Get him out there as much as possible while being smart about it.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think if you play back-to-backs, they won't do that. But, with a day in between, and I'm sure, I don't know, they did have a scheduled practice today. My guess is they canceled it. But anyway, you don't skate them much. But yeah, it's been, John Hines, credit to him. He is pushing all of the right buttons. This team is playing a system that seems to work. I love this whole thing of because the Wild's classic for being either too haughty or being too in the dumps, and this team has not gotten there. Gustafsson, again, just want to quickly talk about him. He was coming off a bad game against Philadelphia, but in defense of him, I thought the whole team played poorly. And those games are going to happen. You're just going to have those games. Now, if they happen a lot, that's where I get very frustrated. But that doesn't happen. This team has played now, 10 games, and they have played 9 pretty good games, and they have played one clunker for sure. But yeah. Gustafsson comes back last night, and in the first period was brilliant. I see a few things. One, he's extremely confident now, which in goaltending is huge. Number 2, because he's in shape, he is moving cat quick. He's getting up and down quick. He is everything that you didn't see. Sort of if it's appropriate, the lethargy that you saw from him at times last year is now gone. Like, you could tell he's in great shape. But his play to me has just been a revelation because, look, there were 2 ways that this was going to go. One is you're coming off a good year, you stink, you get a new contract, and you're like, oh, too bad. Or you're going to come back sort of pissed off and work hard. But a lot of credit goes to Gustafsson for last night, because to go back to this was a game that the Wild would have lost last season. I guarantee you, if Philip Gustafsson 2023-24 is in goal age, they lose that game. He probably gives up 3 in the first period. He might have gotten yanked from that game. This is Philip Gustafsson taking his profession seriously, and it is a huge step. No matter what happens eventually with him, it is a huge step in the right direction.
And let's walk through the 3 goals that the Lightning scored last night. Braden Point, late in the first period on the power play. It was a shot from, I want to say, Victor Hedman at the blue line, where it kind of caromed off a skate, off a stick, and he made a very quick, to your point, very quick adjustment. The cat-like reflexes to make a nice toe save. Kicks out right to Braden Point, who changes the angle with a nice toe drag, beats him. That's not his fault. He made the initial stop.
Yeah, no.
You need another body out front to probably clear that.
And he couldn't control, and he had no chance to control the rebound because it changed directions late, and it was amazing. He just made the save. So that's not a puck not a puck you can steer into the corner. So yes, that is a no fault goal.
Not at all. Late in the game, Nick Paul, it was a kind of I want to say it was Ryan McDonough, tries to throw into the front. It hits once again a body, trickles right to Nick Paul, who can just turn and fire. It's a weird carom. He was anticipating a different pass. I don't blame him for that one at all, especially it's 6-on-5. The one that maybe you could say was his fault in a sense, Jake Gensel's power play goal at the 6:23 marker of the third period, just because kind of coming the other way, he got beat 5-hole. Jake Gensel's got a good shot, so that's one thing or another, but he's playing really well. And to your point, coming off of a stinker, a clunker the other night or the other day against Philadelphia, he just looks like he reset mentally, physically. This is a different Philip Gustafsson. He looks like a goalie that I think if you see him, his name's penciled in the goalie spot to start the game, you're like, okay, the Wild are probably going to get bailed out a couple times. And that's what he's been doing. They're having a few defensive lapses each and every game, it seems like, which every team is going to do. The good goalies bail their teams out in those instances. And he's been doing that for the most part. He is making them have second life so that if he kicks one to the corner, they can go the other way. And we've seen this team on transition. Last night, it was the Eriksson Ek goal where They get it out just outside their own zone. Zuccarello lays it off to a bolting Kaprizov up the wall. He feeds it across. Eriksson. It's that type of transition that starts in your defensive zone by the goalie making a key save, and that's exactly what Phil Gustafsson has been doing here so far this year.
Now, the bad news is, as I said, Tampa scored 2 more on the power play. The Wild penalty kill is now down to 29th in the league at 66.7%. That's a hidden thing. I like that. That will kill you. That will eventually kill you. You cannot have that because
it's a coin toss.
Yeah, I mean it's ridiculous. I mean, the only teams there are 3 teams behind the Wild in PK. The Red Wings 65.6, the Islanders 65%, and the Oilers at 62.5%. But we talked about this if you want to hear more in-depth penalty killing conversation on the Thursday show. This was a main area of focus, and it ain't working. It ain't working. I will tell you one thing I see being up in the press box so I can watch it live with no television constrictions is they pack it in way too much. I don't like it. They pack it in
too tight.
Yeah, they're packed in way too tight. They are being, I thought they were going to be aggressive. They're being way too passive. And then they'll occasionally try to make a play, but it's very hesitantly. You got to be more aggressive. And I also wonder, this is a hot take because you'd probably have to distribute minutes a little bit differently for them. This is a very hot take. Be prepared. This is going to be scorching.
Oh, no.
I'd give Kirill a shot out there. I'd give Kirill a shot.
What?
I'd give Kirill a shot out there, and here's why. With the style of game he plays, he would cause such problems. Now, I would tell him one thing, but I would tell a lot of guys this. Don't block a shot. The defenseman can. You're not blocking any shots. So I do not want you to get in front of a puck. By the way, there's no rule against if somebody shoots on the power play saying the goaltender has to make the save. But I don't want him blocking any shots. But I didn't want Zach Parise blocking shots. I think it's ridiculous when your top level forwards, unless it's a Stanley Cup playoff game, and I'm talking like game 6 or 7, should never try to block a shot as far as I'm concerned. There's no, Marcus Johansson, okay, we give him credit, and I do like it because to me he's sort of a fringe second line guy, but that's also the type of guy, it's like, okay, they lost you then for a portion. Was it really worth a block shot? Yeah. If Jake Middleton wants to fall in front of the puck, I'm not going to quibble to it. He's a defenseman, but I just, they're so passive and they seem so hesitant. And a guy like Kirill, they talked about, I told you this and he's not there yet, but they talked about John Hines in training camp, Matthew Boldy doing some PK. I want a little bit more threatening firepower out there. Mm-hmm. Right now it's, Trennan, Gaudreau, and I'm not saying they're bad, and I think Gaudreau's actually had a nice start, but it's not. It's just there's nothing. There's no there, and I would just love to see like one game, if nothing else, just for one game, throw Kirill some PKs just to sort of embarrass the rest of the team and be like, oh God, he's got to do that now too. Yeah, because it's the one area I can't stand it. I can't stand watching it. It's crap, Age. It's not good. Like these goals are being. It's not hard to see why the goals are being scored.
Oh yeah, no. When I'm watching on TV, I haven't been at a game yet, but if I see all 4 penalty killers on my screen, I don't care how much the camera zoomed out. There's probably an issue with that. I don't know if I'm at the point where I want Kirill on the PK just because I feel like at a certain point that's asking like you're.
That's my point.
He's gonna lay down and block a shot. Like even if you tell him, "Hey, Kirill, don't lay down." He's going to still do it, right?
No. But I want to embarrass. But I want to give him a chance to like show. Okay, you guys think this guy? You think this guy carries you everywhere but PK? Well, now he has to do that.
What I want though, and this is exactly it was the tale of two cities for the PK last night because you saw what the Wild did, which is compact. They're trying to box up a Christmas present or whatever in the smallest package possible. The Lightning, their 2 top like winger forwards guys, they're it's like a piston. They're going up.
That's what I want.
They're constantly, as soon as it goes across blue line, they're pressuring the puck carrier, and that's what you need to do. It forces a pass, and if it's a skill power play, you know what, that could come back to bite you, and I understand that. But sometimes you're going to get a quick enough feet, a quick enough passing lane jump to where you might be able to, and this is where we've seen the doers and the Duhaimes of the past years where they are able to transition the other way. And the Wild already have a shorthanded goal on the year so far. Jacob Lauko and Husnudinov, I believe, were out there for that one, but they have the speed and they have the stick skill, not necessarily stick handling, but they are able to be strong enough on their stick to break up a pass to where they're going to transition the other way. I need those guys to be the Penguin from Happy Feet. You ever see that movie? The animated?
No.
Oh
no.
my God. It's old. It's not whatever. But
I think I know what you're talking about.
You need to be active. I don't want to see you sitting there,
right,
monitoring your stick. You're not sweeping the beach with a metal detector.
But
right? I want to see you dancing up there back and forth with the puck carrier.
But I guess my question is this: is Jakob Trenin good enough to be active like that? Like, I know that he's supposed to, but I mean, I literally don't notice him. He got demoted to the fourth line for a reason. I feel like there's got to be, a change. They did this. Another change in philosophy. I thought there had been one. I think there has been one, so I'm not quite sure. But I also think that, like, you just can't give in. Like, that's a very, well, it's not hidden. That's a very big part of the box score of this game last night, that you gave up 2 power play goals again. Mm-hmm. And again, if it's one game, okay, that's fine. You'd still won. But you are near the bottom of PK again in special teams, and that will kill you. All right, last thing for you. Have you ever seen 2 pucks on the ice in your entire life before last night?
Just out of practice.
During play.
That was an insane, like, I thought maybe I've seen the clip of some guy taking a slap shot and then it hits the post and then just splits in half. I thought that was something that might happen where the puck just broke, or it was a mouth guard happening where, Rossi mistook it for a puck. Just, that was a huge oversight. And I know you were in the building on the TV broadcast. They were saying that upon looking at it, Vasilevsky might have seen that puck was back there in the case of, the Wild score before it gets noticed. And hey, now this could maybe be used as a way to cancel out and we have to reset the play. So maybe,
so I think you saw it.
Maybe a bit of gamesmanship there. I'm not sure. I'll take their word for it. But that was very weird because it got thrown up in the netting, came back down, and then it was just
Kirill.
All right. Yeah, and then
post game Kirill's like, where'd that puck come from? And Sarah from the Star Tribune goes, you, because he shot it. It's one of those 2 he missed the net on 2 pucks in close that he tried to flip up to score on. Mm-hmm. And one of them went up into that net. And evidently at some point, and this is what I don't know when or how, it fell out of the net, which makes no sense because it ordinarily would just lay there. And
it happened right away.
Okay.
Because
so they just missed it completely.
Because Kirill lifted it up out of play, everybody knew it was face-off comes out of the zone. So everybody turned their back, and by the time that happened, it was now bouncing and it just settled right behind the net to where, nobody noticed it until the play eventually got back down that way.
Why did it, after Rossi scored on the puck that was not in play, and everybody, including, Vasilevsky, to the FanDuel portion, did not flinch when Rossi took that puck and scored. He then took the puck out of the net as play was going on and flipped it into the crowd. So that does lend some validity because he didn't get mad, he didn't do anything, he just flipped it out. So it's like he almost knew. But why did it take so long to stop play? Because I saw that, and at first I'm like, is that like a piece of tape or something, right? Because Rossi tucked it in, and it sort of was half-hearted. So I'm like, was that a piece of tape, or what was that? And then it became clear it was a puck, and it took a little bit of time before they blew the whistle. I'm amazed they didn't whistle it down immediately, because the real puck then went out to neutral. But it took them a little bit of time. Like, everyone was so confused. I was just like, kill the play.
I feel like it was just nobody had seen, we're talking about when's the last time you saw that? I haven't seen 2 pucks.
No, but I'm just saying once you see it, it's like the dude just put a puck in the net. Yeah. That puck either, at first I thought, did someone throw it? But you can't throw it from behind the goal because of the netting.
I would have loved to see the in-house production team, just like goal horn, goal song, all that stuff, just to, maybe. But
nobody was fooled by it. Yeah, that's the funny thing is nobody was fooled.
Yeah, it obviously he put a puck in the net, but everybody saw, okay, that's not the correct one. You can't bank on. I would have loved to know what happens if it's the other way around, where that, say that is the right puck. They score, but then there's a second one that is seen maybe 10 feet away. Does that cancel out? How does that? Because Vasilevsky probably doesn't.
Well, if everybody,
I don't know.
If the right puck, I mean, I don't know how that works, but the fact we're talking about two pucks on the ice simultaneously is stupid. So, if everybody followed the right puck, so let's say the wrong puck was hit and rang around the boards, and the right puck dropped, I think they probably cancel the goal. I think they call it no goal because everybody followed. But in this case, again, what was so weird about the whole thing was, as bizarre as it was, nobody was fooled.
Yeah, no.
Vasilevsky wasn't mad. He just flipped the puck out. Might have been slightly annoyed, but he wasn't mad. Rossi tucked the puck in, but then he didn't celebrate. He just went and followed the play. So it was, but I mean, I've never in anything seen that. And I'm willing to bet I'm willing to bet there's a NHL officials linesman memo going out today that says very quietly, hey guys, make sure pucks that go out of play stay out of play.
Yeah.
Because that is imagine if that happens in a playoff game or something.
Oh my God. And to your point, it's not like it.
Like you said, they'll turn around and left.
Yeah. It's not like it, hung up and caught in the netting and then dropped down because people were trying to it was immediately. So.
Okay. So let's just say for a second, instead of double shifting Kirill on the fourth line, just a little PK time. A little PK time. He'll score shorthanded. He will.
Yeah.
I'm throwing it out there. But yes, I don't want.
I'm not there yet.
My edict would be I do not want any of my top 6 forwards who kill to block a shot, including Eriksson Ek, who we've seen. Although I think that was more of a fluke, the broken leg in Pittsburgh. I think that was. I think he was just in the way. I don't think he was trying to block that one.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I ever saw a top 6 guy drop down in front of a puck, I'd go ballistic. I would absolutely hate that. I'm just telling you. This unit needs a little bit of a jolt. Anyway,
the second I see Kirill turn into Greg Zanin and just
but it's not that. If I'm not mistaken, has McDavid not killed before? I think Edmonton's put him out in the PK before.
I feel like he's had to. I mean, they rely on him so much.
That's my point. He's a Hart Trophy. He is here, but he is, as John Hines said. John Hines is this close, by the way. He's this close. John Hines said last night, Kirill's not out there on 5-on-6 to score an empty net goal. He's out there because he plays right. They're not trying to get him points. He's out there because he's your best player all around. This is what makes him a Hart Trophy candidate.
So we're already on the path. You're just ushering it to where Kirill's going to be.
I'm just telling you, this is 10 games in. This looks like a good team. They have one massive problem that remains a massive problem. And I don't think your big-time free agent acquisition, Jakob Trenin, is going to be the answer. I'm also hard to believe that they retooled the power play to become more meek than it was. I'd be very curious that you wouldn't get this answer. I'd be very curious if Jack Capuano would tell you, yeah, you know what? I came in here. I decided to tell them to be more meek than they were last year. Be more conservative. Be more afraid. The penalty kill, you got to be afraid. If you're not afraid, what could you pack it in? Pack everybody in.
Sardines.
Pack it in. I'm really hard pressed to think he told them that. And yet they're just all like, what should I do? And then once in a while they will make a play. And it's literally like watching Pee Wee hockey. It's like, oh, good job, kids. Good job. You made a play. And then next thing you know, bang, the puck's in the net. Other than that, I got no complaints. And the Hart Trophy leader in the clubhouse, Saturday morning, November 2nd, is Kirill Kaprizov. None of this Kucherov talk. He had a point last night or something.
He was -3 last night.
He was a -3 last night. No. He had 8 or 9 shots on goal. In fact, he had let's see here. He had 8 shots on goal. So, but guess what?
So much.
He didn't score. Yeah, it's a lot. He's a tremendous player. Last night, Nikita, you were the second best player at best on the ice because they were
really bad shots too. He only generated .38 goals like expected from those.
Yeah, I don't know if he
Terrible.
really showed up last night, but that's the difference again
Whatever.
between him and Kirill. All right, we are done. Appreciate you joining us for a Saturday edition. We will be back. I think next time we'll probably be back is on Tuesday with Jesse Pierce to talk about hopefully a Wild win against Toronto before they finish their homestand Tuesday night against the Kings. He's AJ. I'm Judd. You might think I'm crazy, but what the heck? Let's see if it works. Judd's Hockey Show. See ya.